Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Space Cowboy here. Welcome back to the channel with another video for you guys here today. And we got to talk about the second matchup the Cowboys have versus the Giants. This time it is in Arlington. The last game resulted in a 40-0 blowout in the Meadowlands. And the Cowboys are looking to go for the sweep and get to 6-3. On paper, the Dallas Cowboys should be able to win this game relatively easily. And I'm not saying that's going to be the case, of course, because it is any given Sunday. And the reason there is this optimism for the Cowboys to bounce back after their loss versus Philadelphia is the Giants having a guy by the name of Tommy DeVito starting at quarterback, an undrafted rookie free agent. And you also have Matt Barkley backing up Tommy DeVito. You know, Daniel Jones tore his ACL. Not entirely sure what happened to Tyrod Taylor. I don't know the extent of his injury, but I know he got hurt. And realistically, the only piece of the offense of the Giants that I'm worried about is Saquon Barkley, which I'm sure he'll have his fair share of plays. Now, as for the Giants' defense, I do think that they are a stingy group, and this is a game where you need to get things back on track with the run game, and more particularly your offensive line doing better in pass protection, especially Terrence Steele. But to be completely honest with you guys, I really don't have much more to add to the conversation of what the Cowboys can do schematically to beat the Giants. Because when you look at it for what it is, the Giants compared to where they were in Week 1 aren't as good. And even with that being said, we were on the road, terrible conditions. The offense, particularly the passing game, didn't need to be super flashy, and it really wasn't. And you won 40-0. Now, I don't think it's going to be a shutout again. I really don't. However, I still think that you should be able to win this game as long as you show up, don't take the Giants lightly, and sleepwalk through this game. The Cowboys, I believe, are a 17-point favorite at home, of course, but the last time they were that big of a favorite, they played a nail-biter versus the Houston Texans. And I really don't want to see this crazy shit happen again where my heart has palpitations against a 2-7 football club. But moving forward, what do I need to see from this Cowboys team as we're now more than halfway through the NFL season? We're 5-3, and we're trying to get to 6-3 and start making a push towards the postseason and try to make a statement for what kind of team we are. Starting on the offensive side of the ball, Dak Prescott, after I've been screaming at the top of my lungs for him to use his legs so he can be more comfortable, has started to do so. He has been playing fantastic football, especially after the bye week, and it has resulted in the Cowboys going 2-1 and almost 3-0 if not for the debauchery that happened in the Eagles game where we couldn't capitalize on certain mistakes. But we're moving past that. What I need to also see is better effort from Michael Gallup, but it looks like the Cowboys have not been able to get that, and so they're starting to make maneuvers there. And if possible, give Brandon Cooks the ball more, right? But either way, the passing game is humming. CeeDee Lamb is a superstar, and I can't complain. And then also Jake Ferguson's coming into his own. Good stuff, right? There are a couple negatives here and there, but at the end of the day, I need to see the passing game continue what they're doing. The run game, I'm not going to sit here and just lie to you and be like, oh, we need to establish run. No, we're not looking to do that. However, what we need to do is run the ball more effectively, and there's a couple things that could be done to fix this. The first thing is how we're running the football. A lot of the times it's very similar, like running the ball up the middle, little runs on the outside, or the way that we're blocking, it's just... But when it comes to this run game and the offensive line and pass protection, that's been the Achilles heel of this offense. Now, we don't need to establish the run. No, we don't need to do that. What we need to do is we need to run the ball more effectively, and it comes down to a little bit of scheme and how we're running the football, and more so execution. When it comes to the offensive line, it is a mixed bag, specifically on the right side with Terrence Steele and also your center. You're having issues where Tyler Biadasz gets overpowered at times, and then also on the right-hand side, Terrence Steele just never has looked like himself at all. it looks like he's even worse than what he came into the league in 2020. And as a result, it's causing your passing game to be affected. In fact, it's one of the big reasons why you lost that Philly game. He hasn't been able to handle stuff when it's been going into the inside or to his left more specifically. He hasn't been able to do anything there. It just feels like mechanically he seems off and mentally he's just not right yet. And you really don't have an alternative, right? Like wide receiver with Michael Gallup, a bit different because you have options there. But when it comes to the offensive line, the only thing that you can do is just ride this thing out and hope to God that things can hold together. And so there's that. And, I mean, even at center, your only option would be Brock Hoffman. But they're not doing that, of course. The run game, all right? Some of it does attribute to the fact of how some of these guys are blocking up front. However, most of it's come down to these running backs, who you're giving carries, and how they're running the football. Tony Pollard has been a massive issue this year because what's happened is that he's taken the wrong avenue when the offensive line opens up a hole. He's just going into the wrong read, and it's resulting in not as positive yardage as you should, right? And there has been multiple times this happened, especially of recent. You had it versus Philadelphia. You've had it a little bit of times versus the Rams, and especially in the Chargers game. And I'm not trying to sit here and say that Tony Pollard's a bad player at this point. No, he ain't. He's still a productive dude. The problem is it feels like there's a confidence issue because there are times where it's like he's getting caught up from behind because he's worried about doing certain things, or if it's just the lead. I don't think it's the lead back role that has him a certain way. I don't think that's the case. I just think that Tony Pollard has an effort issue. It's fixable. He just needs to be able to make the right reads because that's what's costing you in this run game. On top of that, Rico Dowdle needs to get a lot more carries. Again, if you're going to go through this pass game, I'm not saying you have to run the football. We got to be bound. No. What you need to do is you need to get the ball to your running backs. If you running the football, like straight up just handing the ball off ain't working, there were things we were doing earlier in the season, like the running back screens, which were very much so an effective tool in this offense, which allowed for the running backs to get some semblance of a head start and, get their confidence up. We haven't done it, right? I don't know what we can do there, but that's something that needs to be fixed. And it's just infuriating because it really feels like this is a correctable problem, and I think it will eventually correct itself out. Not saying we're going to be a running football team, but, based off of what we're hearing and what they're trying to do, right now, the passing game, and that's how it should be. Open up the pass game. Make sure we're utilizing play action, and you don't need to establish the run to dupe. That's just a fallacy. But that's what I just need to see on the, aside from getting, on the passing game, certain people getting touches, but it is what it is. Then defensively, I just need to see this defense create opportunities for itself and stop trying to overplay certain things. That's it. Jordan Lewis has been a liability on this defense for a little bit now, if not all season. And you can only mask up so much when you have these injuries. But at the end of the day, I just think that, there really is no other option. That's why the Trevon Diggs injury hurt so much, because now, with Bland now playing on the outside and Jordan Lewis not being able to do his part, it makes things a little bit tougher. On the defensive line, I think that Micah's been doing his thing. I need to see a little bit more from DeMarcus Lawrence, but defensively, I think my biggest gripe is safety play. I think that needs to do better. And, Dan Quinn just needs to make sure he keeps himself in check because I don't know what it is, but sometimes Dan Quinn just does certain things where, too many stunts or just... I don't know, man. I'm trying to be as nitpicky as possible because if I'm being honest, this team isn't terrible. It ain't. It's just we need to execute better. And I think that as we get down the stretch, as long as we start executing good football at the right time, we'll be fine. Because when the Dallas Cowboys are clicking on all cylinders in all three phases of the game, they are the best team in the National Football League. There's been no other team that's clicked at all in all three phases and has looked as great as the Cowboys have. Call me a homer if you want, but, I mean, you know, you've had games like the Giants game. Well, not even the Giants game because the offense wasn't clicking fully. You had games like the Patriots game, and you had some hiccups there. You had the Rams game. I mean, they've had multiple games where they are dominating teams when all three phases are cooking. I can't say that for some of these other teams in the NFL. And so that's where it's like, if they can just hone in and respond, that'd be great. With that being said, guys, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much, and have a good one.